Hello YouTube, this is Seption Cecil, and today I'll be talking about Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman. Anyway, this entire business is getting a little big, I guess, and by a little, I mean the exact opposite of that, which is a lot. But anyway, as an audience, I know that you already know what this issue is, so I'm not even going to bother explaining what happened, because you already know. And if you don't, on the slight off chance that you don't, you can just go and Google it. So go ahead, do that if you don't know. Anyway, now that pretty much, hopefully all of the viewers watching this know what the issue is, I would like to point out that if you've seen the comments for these YouTube videos and the news stories, you'll see that there's always a bunch of people, maybe a majority, not a majority, but at least half of the people who comment on them are saying that George Zimmerman shot Trayvon Martin because he was black, or because George Zimmerman's a racist or something. But the thing is, this entire investigation and the killing, it's not a racial issue. I mean, there's a possibility that George Zimmerman is racist, but, his lawyer has already asserted that he's not racist. But then there's the possibility of his lawyer lying, but I would not think that George Zimmerman is racist, because this issue isn't about race. It's about the killing of a 17-year-old teenager who was unarmed. But just to say that this is racist and throw a controversial issue in here for little to no reason, it's a little obnoxious, really. So, I mean, slavery ended 100, maybe over 150 years ago. 13th Amendment, I don't know at this moment when it was ratified, but it was at least over 100 years old. I mean, don't you think as a country we would have socially progressed to the point where issues of race are not even thrown in? I mean, hasn't technical equality, and not going to be technical about this, but, well, no, then again, there was still there's up until the 1960s with the American Civil Rights Movement. But anyway, don't you think we've progressed a little too far for this to be an issue? So, people who are claiming this is a racist issue and George Zimmerman's a racist or all that, or the police investigation is racist, your argument isn't helping at all to find the truth here. So, can you please just set that aside? I mean, even if it is racist, the only difference in the case would that it was a hate crime, but other than that, it really has no relevance here. And my other point is, the police investigation is very flawed. It's very shallow, and the evidence, there is sufficient evidence to arrest George Zimmerman, and from what I've read, there will be a trial on April 10th, or a court hearing, or something of that matter. But I'd like to point out that this investigation is very shallow, and the evidence does point that George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin as murder, not self-defense, as he claims. And my first point on that is, okay, so Trayvon Martin, walking down the street at night with a hoodie on, he has a package of Skittles and tea. This is somehow threatening to George Zimmerman, who he calls 911, violates, you know, what the officers say. They say don't follow him if he's, he's suspicious. Don't follow him. George Zimmerman follows him anyway. They tell him don't approach him. He approaches him, and he completely obstructs justice. He ignores the commands of the law enforcement. Just to he completely goes against that, and that calls into question his self-defense. Also, they say that when police got there, Trayvon Martin was already shot, and George Zimmerman had a bloody nose and a wound on the back of his head. Now, as far as I know, I don't think Skittles and tea are a good weapon, against a gun. Guns, Skittles, who's gonna win? I mean, maybe, like, the tea, he, like, hit him with it? I don't know. I doubt it. But, there's that slight, like, 1% possibility. Furthermore, about the wounds, I mean, imagine you're walking down the street, you have no, weapon on you at all, you just have a can of tea and some Skittles. Imagine some guy comes up to you with a gun. Now, you think you're gonna get robbed, right? It's like, oh crap, this guy's about to rob me. What do? All I have is a can of tea and some freaking Skittles. So, those wounds, maybe Trayvon Martin was like, oh crap, I'm getting robbed, better fight back. And they say that, Zimmerman says he tried to take the gun from him. Yeah. I mean, how else, what's the best way to stop a robber? I mean, other than, give in to his demands, but obviously Trayvon thought fighting back would be better, which I probably wouldn't have agreed with, but it's already happened, so, punch the guy in the face, try to get the gun away from him. I mean, it's a freaking gun. I mean, those things kill people. Obvious. You don't say. But, I mean, wouldn't you fight back? I mean, me personally, probably not. But, I'm not Trayvon, so, I mean, he's pretty much unarmed anyway. I mean, wouldn't you punch Zimmerman in the face? They, like, hit him with a tea can? I don't know. I don't think I don't think he hit him with a tea can, so disregard that part. And through Zimmerman's claim of self-defense, I really don't think it's self-defense when all they have is a can of tea and Skittles and you have a gun. I don't think that really counts as self-defense at this point. I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, punch in the face compared to gun. It's like, oh, I got punched in the face. I got a bloody nose. Oh, I'm going to shoot this guy. Me, personally, I've been, punched in the face by just a random person, that was, pissed off at me because I didn't pick up his shirt for him. He, punched me in the face. I didn't pull out a gun and shoot him. No, I just, both exchanged our profanity and walked away. I didn't, pull out a gun and shoot him. I didn't even have a gun, though, but I didn't, want to shoot him. I was like, oh, why did this guy punch me in the face? That is completely unreasonable and unjust. But anyway, back to the case. I mean, it's pretty simple to see, it's Skittles, candy, and tea against a gun. It's a gun! I mean, it's not self-defense, it's murder. And the policemen's, when the police got there, they asked him what happened, and he said self-defense. they automatically take his word for it, which was a big mistake. They didn't, keep him to question. They just, oh, it was self-defense? Oh, it's okay. Go on ahead. And, he's got a gun. They look at, it's a 17-year-old kid. They didn't even stop him. They said, oh, hey, what happened? Oh, self-defense. Okay, bye. Obviously, that's really simplistic, but essentially, that's pretty much what happened. And the policemen really haven't done anything. There have been numerous witnesses who, on the phones, if you, can hear these on YouTube, there's, you can hear Trayvon yelling for help. He's yelling help, and after he yells, after the gunshot, Trayvon, well, the person yelling, stops yelling. They stop yelling help. People are saying that, oh, Zimmerman was asking for help. Yeah, why would you be calling for help when there's a kid, punched in the face, maybe hit you upside the back of the head, made you bleed or something from the back. You have a gun? It's like, oh, help me, I have a gun pointed at this kid who is unarmed. Help me, I need help, yeah. And so it's pretty safe to assume that Trayvon was the one yelling for help. After the gunshot, you can clearly, tell the yelling stops. It's just help, help, and then boom, nothing. And the police are ignoring this. Well, they're not ignoring it, they're just disregarding it. And it's absurd. And, the police, they continue to stand by this, that, oh, it was, Trayvon attacked him, which may or may not be true, and even if it is, think of the psychology behind that. Do you think Trayvon would, I know the gun was concealed, but, it's a friggin' 250-pound man against a 140-pound teenager. Do you really think a teenager is gonna, yeah, teenagers can do some stupid things sometimes, but, take on 250-pound man? I don't think, even, it's just, nobody's that stupid. It's really hard to be that stupid. And people are saying that he has a youth advantage over Zimmerman. Youth advantage? It's a disadvantage. 17-year-old can't, beat up a friggin', 30-year-old guy. It's impossible. When you're 30, you're strong. You're bigger than a 17-year-old. Also said he had a height advantage of 11 inches over Zimmerman. Height has no relevance. Do you not think that a midget can shoot a 7-foot-tall basketball player? Yes, George Zimmerman is shorter than Trayvon. That has nothing to do with it. Guns don't pick age. Unless you're 500 feet tall, a gun's not going to do much. Just that, like a pistol. But no, Trayvon isn't, 500 feet tall. Height advantage has nothing to do with this. Anyway, on to more of the flaws in this investigation. So, one of the family friends of Zimmerman's family, I think it was Joe Oliver, he goes on a news show and says that, oh, he's been into hiding and he's been crying ever since, he shot Trayvon, and he's not, and then he later said that he wasn't even sure if it was Zimmerman who pulled the trigger on the gun. What? What? It's completely obvious that Zimmerman shot Trayvon. That's just ridiculous. Teenagers must be like, hey, random guy with a gun, grab gun, boom! Actually, no, it would be, boom, shoots self in chest. No! That's completely ridiculous. Oh my god. Anyway, another thing. They're saying that, Trayvon got suspended from school for possession of marijuana, like, prior to this. And I would like to say that also has no relevance here. Whether or not somebody, smokes marijuana or their previous suspensions, that has nothing. I mean, you're just trying to assault their character at that point, assault their reputation. I mean, the drugs have no bearing on this whatsoever. Like, it's not like as soon as you get suspended once, you're automatically a thug who punches random strangers in the face and deserves to be shot. I mean, if you, judge people's characters by one little thing, I mean, and they get, deserve to be killed because, oh, this guy got suspended a few times, and he got suspended for possession of marijuana. Oh, he's automatically a thug. It has to be him. No. No. Having multiple suspensions, that doesn't say anything other than you have a prejudice against him because of his suspensions, which I don't know if they've been verified. I think they have, but yeah, right, yes, they have been verified, but it has nothing to do with it. Was he suspended for, like, killing somebody? No, of course not. I mean, these suspensions have nothing to do with the fact if he's innocent or guilty. And the evidence points to that Trayvon Martin was innocent. And George Zimmerman jumped the gun, pun completely intended, on Trayvon and killed him. Killed an innocent 17-year-old. And, I mean, Trayvon was on the phone with his girlfriend, too. Or I think it was his girlfriend. It was a 16-year-old girl. I think it was his girlfriend. And she told him, he said, hey, there's a guy following me. And she told him to run. And then she heard a scuffle. And then the line went dead. Another thing. They say that it's in the Florida Stand Your Ground law, that it's lawful for him to self-defense, that he was standing his ground against this attacker. And this law is flawed. Because anybody, you can just kill somebody and say, hey, it was self-defense, and I was just standing my ground, and this fits in the Stand Your Ground law. Which, this couldn't possibly, with the overwhelming amount of evidence against George Zimmerman, this cannot possibly apply to this. It's completely obvious that George Zimmerman killed this kid. I mean, so it's still, even so, couldn't they at least, arrest him for, violating, obstructing justice, going against the instructions of a policeman that was, trying to not have this kind of thing happen. I mean, this is crazy. The Florida Police Department is just being, it's either corrupt or ineffective. And even an officer, one of the detectives, he, says it's completely obvious that, Trayvon's innocent. Alright, anyway, So that's all I have to say about this. If any more topics on this come up, I'll probably make another video. I'll post links to a couple news stories below. So, I'm Seption Cecil, and you've been watching LogicInVita. If you want to see more of this, like us, subscribe. We always love likes and subscribers. If you have something to comment. You all know that. So, bye-bye YouTube for now.